This is something that's pretty mind-blowing, and yes, it is a landmine issue. So if you're not ready for this, go ahead and click out of here. You don't want to watch this. If you are, then there's no good way to really tackle this issue. And what we have is an article here, I'm going to show it to you, of the VA actively seeking anyone making anti-Christian bias statements or actions and to report them with names, dates, and locations. And this is in support of the new task force under the Trump administration to eradicate all anti-Christian bias. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this article here. I'm going to give you my 2 cents and food for thought, right? I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus. I read his word just about every single day. I'm very active in my local church community. I'm currently in grad school for theology college. So you can see this is something near and dear to my heart, to my beliefs in my life. I am very deep into this. Okay. So if you don't want to listen to this video, that's fine. Click off it. If you do, let's go ahead and read this article. The Department of Veteran Affairs is asking its employees to report any instance of anti-Christian discrimination to a newly launched task force. The VA Secretary Doug Collins, in an email sent to employees on Tuesday, said the department launched a task force to review the Biden administration's treatment of Christians. Collins is a former Air Force chaplain. The VA task force now requests all VA employees to submit any instance of anti-Christian discrimination to anti-Christian bias reporting at va.gov. The email obtained by Federal News Network states, quote, submission should include sufficient identifiers such as names, dates, and locations. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on February 6th focused on eradicating anti-Christian bias. The email states the department will review all instances of anti-Christian bias, but is specifically seeking instances in which employees believe they were denied promotions for religious reasons or face retaliation for seeking a religious exemption to vaccine mandates. The Biden administration faced a protracted legal battle over COVID-19 vaccine mandate for the federal workforce. Former President Joe Biden officially revoked the COVID-19 vaccine mandate in May 23 via executive order. Then it goes into bigger issues like the department is also looking to hear from any employees who were disciplined or threatened if they refuse to participate in certain medical procedures, including abortions or hormone therapy for transgender veterans. The VA, in an interim rule published in September 22, announced they would provide abortions for veterans in life-threatening situations due to a pregnancy or in cases of rape and incest. The policy also protected VA healthcare providers from legal action in states where abortion is outlawed. The VA updated its policy shortly after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and the constitutional right to an abortion. I'm going to pretty much leave this. The rest, it's pretty much over. The rest of the article down below in the pinned comments. I'm going to give you my thoughts here, okay? Hopefully they're received well. So let's talk about Christian nationalism. All right. First off, Christian nationalism is the fusing of Christianity and Christian values with the government. All right. The issue, at least that I would argue, is that Christian nationalism is not Christianity. And the more that the church is infused with the government, the harder it will be to distinguish the two. At some point, you could argue that to question the government is to question the church. And that's a very deep and dark rabbit hole. Now, people always argue for the separation of church and state in order to protect the government. I would actually argue the opposite of the separation of church and state to protect the church. This is like my number one priority, okay? Christian nationalism does not just distort Christianity, but Christian nationalism reshapes the Christian identity to a more of a political party versus Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who fulfilled the law, fulfilled the prophets, died on the cross, loving us to the very end so that we may have life through him because we have been reconciled, okay? That's Christianity. Christian nationalism shifts away from that truth of Jesus and shifts more towards the political landscape. So separating those two, I would argue and die on the hill that it's to protect the church, not to protect political parties, the government, or nationalism. I would argue that Christian nationalism harms the church, and the ways to make generational change is through having an impact on culture, right? In normal terms, this means sharing the love of Christ that has been shared with us. Grassroots effort style change is what I'm talking about, instead of policy and lawmakers and every 4 years signing more executive orders and creating task force. One is deep and personal, the other is political. That's the argument I'm trying to make here. Now, there's a lot more I could go into Christian nationalism, but overall, I would say it's bad. I think that every Christian should really pray for the authority that has been appointed over us. And I'll end it with this. If Jesus came back today, he would not be a Republican. He would not be a Democrat. Let me know your thoughts.